This episode is brought to you by The Energy Album by Rob D. Inaccurate. Go stream that shit. What is up, people? I am back. Of course. I know I've said this before, but I really do like doing this shit. It's just I like doing it on my own time. I got to take care of life first, I'm squeezing all this shit in as we do with everything, everything, all this passionate stuff that we do is, we got to deal with life first. And then we can experiment and do all this other good, fun stuff. Because you got to find some type of joy, man. You got to insert joy on your own time. And I think we get really stuck in this cycle of like, you have to, you know what I mean? Like I have to go to the store. I have to go to the doctor. I have to go here. I have to go there. So it's kind of like you end up feeling guilty when you find shit that you like to do, but it's hard to explain like, well, I don't have to do this shit, but I'm going to go do it. It's kind of hard to explain unless you're going through it and unless you really understand it. And it's really just about, finding some type of joy through all this stuff, all this crazy world that's, all these crazy things that are happening and shit. And you got to keep saying, you got to find something, you got to draw, you got to, all these recreational things, that people think you don't have to do, which you don't. But in reality, if you really think about it, you kind of do, because you owe it to yourself. You know what I mean? You got to carve out that time to like, man, I got to do this because I got to take care of me. That's why I'm doing this shit. You know what I mean? But like I said, unfortunately, we get caught in this cycle of like, I have to do this because I have a deadline and I have to turn it in, whatever it is. That we have to, somehow make this the norm too. You know what I mean? Like, find shit that you like to do and practice on it, and then, just chisel away and then see what you come up with. You know what I mean? I really like doing this shit. I really like doing the podcast, and I know I haven't had a guest in a while, but I really I don't want to focus so much on that because I just like doing this shit. And if someone's here and I could, have a conversation with them, then cool. But if not, then that's cool too, One of the things that I do want to do, though, is I want to manifest the whole sponsors. You know what I mean? Because, again, this isn't, I'm not doing this solely for the money. But, I mean, at the same time, if I want to do this for a living, I got to bring in some, some type of income. And that's how you make the income. You know what I mean? Sponsors, so if you know somebody that knows somebody that's related to somebody that's, going out with somebody that used to, go to this certain high school with somebody else, and they're willing to sponsor a beginning podcast, then send them my way. I don't know how this shit works, man. I'm just going to keep on manifesting it though, man. And just having fun. I want to talk about the Queen. God bless the Queen that has passed away. I'm just playing. Fuck that. That is not what I'm going to be talking about. I want to talk about deleting social medias. I recently deleted a TikTok account. And I kind of knew in the back of my mind I was going to do it anyways, but I wanted to try it out. You know what I mean? And no, I was not dancing on there, none of that shit. It's just like I'm a beginning artist, and I'm trying to see how I can get exposure, see how I can catch your eye, see how I can catch your ear. To see, hey, do you like this shit? I think it's some dope shit. You want to check it out, And, but I quickly learned that it's all a system. And of course, that's why I said, like, I kind of knew it in the back of my head what it was. But I was like, fuck it, I might be wrong, And no, I was right. It's all some bullshit, man. It's all that, that typical, what everybody says, the algorithms, they control what you want to see, all that shit, man. So I started it about a few months ago. I really don't remember. Maybe like 4 months ago, 5 months ago, maybe. And I posted some videos. What was it? Like some clips of like music videos, alert video, um, and I think like some of me like making merch. And like the first three videos, it got like a few hundred. I don't. Was it? What do they go by? Likes, views? I don't remember. I don't pay attention to it. Whatever. It got a 300 something. Likes, views. I think it's views. Um, and I was like, okay, cool. And I would throw up another one, and like, oh shit, okay, it got about the same amount, which was kind of odd to me, cause like, let's say the first one got like 310, like the next one got like 300, and it's like, okay, and then the next one got like 320 or something like that. It was all like very close. The numbers were almost exactly the same, and I was like, whatever. And then after that, I posted like, I would spread them out. I posted like three more videos or whatever, and I got zero, like zero, like not even one, zero. And I was like, how? How the fuck does this, like, first of all, 300 people seeing my shit is a lot. But again, I really don't want to get into like the whole conspiracy theories of how, TikTok works and social media as a whole, really. But, I I'm not, I don't want to say I'm not dumb because I'm pretty fucking dumb, but you know what I mean? Like, I know what's going on here. And it was like 300 for me is a lot, you know? So it went like, woof, for me. It went like a really high number, and then it went to like, woof, pass, like zero. And then, yeah, like everything I posted after those three, I noticed, I was like, what? Like zero for real? Like, what the fuck? How the hell did I get these 300 and something then? And I posted like two more or whatever. And I got like one or two, and I was like, I don't know, man. And then I'm not a big fan of like hashtags and stuff, only because I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? I would talk to Accurate like, hey, dude, how does this shit work? And he would kind of explain it to me, and I'm like, man, I gotta brainstorm like all this shit. How come I can't just like have a list and like copy paste and session go? But apparently they keep an eye out for shit like that. And I think they like, if you just like copy paste the same hashtags, the system identifies you like as like a bot or some shit. It's a fucking mess, man. That's why like I try to be active on my social media, which is only fucking Instagram. Well, I guess YouTube if you want to count that as social media too, but more Instagram. But like I try to be active, but I do it my way. You know what I mean? I'm probably missing out. I'm probably hurting myself by like not putting, a bunch of hashtags. But I don't want it to be about that, because then it becomes work. You know? Then it becomes like, what else can I do? Hashtag this and hashtag that and hashtag this and that. I have fun with the hashtag sometimes. You know what I mean? If you follow me, you could see that I just puras pendejadas. Because it's just fun, you know what I mean? And I don't want to take the fun out. I'm already dealing with bullshit. You know what I mean? And but again, I think people run into that shit where it's like, but I need more views, I need more likes, I need more this, I need more, and it's just like, fuck it. You know what I mean? Because you just gotta build it up. You know what I mean? Just deposit, and one day you're gonna do this one thing, and then that's gonna attract people, and then they're gonna go through all your shit and be like, what the fuck is this? I know I've said this plenty of times before, but I am a true believer in that. You know what I mean? So because it takes the fun out, man. It's just like, no, I don't want to work. That's why I'm trying to do this, because I don't want to work. And what I mean by that is, I understand that there's work to be done. You know what I mean? Creating the music and learning these, programs, and learning even the art forms and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Learning how to, you know, keep up with the podcast, and what am I going to talk about now, and how do I brainstorm what I'm going to talk about. Like, there is work, you know what I mean? But it's fun. It's fun. When I say work, like I don't want to work, I mean like dullness. Like what basically what I'm going through now. Like everybody has a job that they go into, they clock in, and they can't wait to clock back out. You know what I mean? Then when you clock out, then your life resumes. You know what I mean? Then your life, then you can look into what do you want to do. You know what I mean? If you like to bowl, then you're looking forward to clocking out. That way you can go to the bowling alley because that's your shit. You know? But like, that's what I mean by like work. Like I don't want to like do shit that I don't want to do. I want to do stuff. I want to work my ass off. I was telling Akira last time, like, I understand that, you know, the best way we can like, make a living off of this is by, doing all these shows. So that's why, we're so focused on Energy Fest right now. And we want to build our own thing, you know what I mean? But also we also understand that, hopefully word gets around, not just in the city, anywhere, another state, another city, another, country, God willing. And and build that hype up ourselves. Like, look, let's showcase ourselves. Let's not wait for anything. And that way we can have control of it. You know what I mean? And it's not gonna be work. It's gonna be fun. Like, oh, we gotta go over here. We gotta go over there. Yes, it's gonna be work. Uh, quote unquote work, but we're gonna be doing what we love to do, and that makes it not work. You know what I mean? Cause fuck that, man. I'm fucking tired of this shit, man. I am so fed up with like the traditional way. And I'm not shitting on anybody that loves their job. Like, good for you. But I let me shut up before you know what I mean. Anyway, so yeah, fuck TikTok. I deleted it. It's just dumb. It's just dumb, and part of it too is that it became work to me. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to learn another program. Like, how do I get more views? How do I get more likes on these things? What do I have to do? That, and then they kept on asking me, like, hey, let's sync your contacts. That way, you can tell everybody, like, no, I don't want people that I know. I want other people. But again, so I was like, man, fuck TikTok. So I just deleted that shit, man. Fuck that. I got bigger plans. You know what I mean? I think TikTok will be fine without me. um, what else do I want to talk about? Oh yeah, so I know I've mentioned this too before, but my nephews graduated high school earlier this year, and we're super proud of them and stuff. And it's been cool to see them, like like see them like figure things out afterwards. You know what I mean? Because it's like, all right, everything, graduation, the big party, everything. Okay, everything just passed now. You're like, now what do you do? You know what I mean? So it's cool just to see them grow, really. And one of my nephews, left the city, to go to school somewhere else and stuff. And my son, it's tripped out. But I mean, you hear it all the time and you see it all the time too. But it's crazy to see him observe everything. You know what I mean? Last time he was asking me, he was like, one day he said, Dad, after I graduate high school, can I still live here? And I was like, I didn't want to laugh at him. I didn't want to be like, what the fuck? Because that's what, at least I know that's what I come from, ¿Cómo? Pues sí, pues, or, pues no. Or, like a fucking reaction, a knee jerk reaction. And then, he ends up feeling dumb, like, oh, fuck, let me not ask more questions. So I made sure, like, yeah, like, but then I also let him know, like, you can be here, but you're gonna have to be going to school. He's like, yeah, I want to go to school. I just wanted to know if I could live here. And I was like, yeah, you could live here, as long as you go to school or you get a job, like, yeah, you can go ahead and stay here with us. And he's like, okay. And we left it at that because I didn't want to overwhelm him. He's 7, come on. So then, like a few weeks passed by, right? And then he asked, he's like, "Hey, Dad, after I graduate high school, what did he say?" He said, like, "Do I have to live here, or can I live somewhere else? Can I have my own place?" And I was like, "Yeah, you can have your own place. That's fine with me." And he said, "Okay." He said, "I don't think I will right after I graduate, but maybe later." And I was like, "That's completely fine." He said, "Okay," and I just left it at that too. And me quedé yo like, whoa, you know what I mean? The go figure, the little one is like, he's watching everything, you know what I mean? He's listening, um he's very alert, he's very aware, like, oh shit, this shit's happening. What about me? What's gonna happen with me? What would my parents, what are my parents okay with and shit? So it's pretty cool to see him, you know, get the wheels turning at such a young age, you know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure he's not gonna remember anything like that, but it's pretty cool to have those conversations because that's definitely a first for me. I think I've talked to Haley about stuff like that too, but I think I've brought it up. You know, with him, he's bringing it up, so that was pretty cool. And another thing too, to stay on the topic of my son. I think the little ones are always the ones that like soak up the most because they're so close to what's happening without it happening to them. You know what I mean? Like my sister's the youngest, and I think she, you know, really saw things happening, so she would kind of like know what to do and what not to do or how to handle the situation because I could see that, you know what I mean, growing up. And I see that happening with my son too, you know, him being the youngest from him and my daughter. Um, I think, yeah, I've definitely mentioned this on here where, you know, I had asked Haley, like, you know, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? And she had brought up the whole YouTubing thing, and I explained to you guys how, you know, we put our heads together and basically, you know, we created, you know, her own channel or whatever. Now the whole time we're going through that, my son, he was basically just like watching us. You know what I mean? And he jumped at the opportunity to have his own channel too. And I was like, what? And I forgot how it happened, but basically, I think me and Haley, we were just like, you know, figuring things out. You know, we were in her room, and like I told you before, we were in her room for like the whole day, you know, and I was just trying to figure it out, like figure it out. And you know, my son would come in like, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, you guys are trying to figure it out." "Oh, okay," and then he would leave, and then he would come back and like, "Oh no, still no," and like, okay, he would leave. And then finally, when I did get it, like, "Oh man, I think I got it." He's like, "Oh, cool. Can I come out on some of your videos, Haley?" And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, you know, maybe later on or blah blah blah, whatever." He's like, "Oh, okay." And he got all happy or whatever. And then he leaves, and then he came back later, and he's like, um, "So she's gonna have her own channel?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I think I figured it out finally." And he said, right away, he's like, "Can I have my own channel?" And I looked at him, and again, I think it's because of like where I come from or what I come from. Más bien, like our culture is very like, cállese, usted ni sabe. You know what I mean? Like, hey, chiquillo, váyase y límpiese la cola mejor, or you know, some shit like that. That it's like, I gotta stop myself because I want to cut all that shit off. You know, I think that's so unnecessary, and that's part of like, you know, changing the trajectory of what we come from and what I want to give my kids. And so I remember like stopping that thought, be like, okay, crumble that piece of paper up, throw it away. And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, like, what do you want to do? And just me, I guess, giving him that validity. Is that a fucking word? Oh shit. Um, he just like, I want to do this and I want to, you know, plush videos and gaming and reading books and like all these ideas that he just like, basically everything that he sees, you know, he wanted to do. And I was like, yeah. I told him if I could figure it out, sure. And he's like, oh man, yeah, and I already have my username or my screen name or whatever the hell it is, profile name. And I'm like, really? And he was just like, and he just like hopped on the opportunity. I was like, wow. And yeah, like fast forward to now, we just, whenever they just tell me like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that, like, all right, cool, which is another thing too, like you got to find time to like squeeze all these things in and learn, because I fucked up a few videos, you know what I mean? But I'm still trying to figure it out and figure it out and figure it out to like now I think I kind of figured it out. But it was tough, man. It was a doozy, and you could, well, if you know, I'm not about to fucking share their channels on here, but if ever you do run into them, you could see like the first videos, like they're fucked up, they would freeze up, or they would lag. They were fucked up. But I was like, no, let's put these up. That way you guys have something, and you could see the progress and shit. Kind of like the podcast. If you go back and listen to the first episode, the sound was shit. Like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, but I was like, yeah, let's put this shit up, and then the next one a little bit better, then the next one a little bit better, then the next one a little bit better, and so on and so on. Shit, this one might be shit too. You never know. You know what I mean? Um, but so yeah, man, like I really admire the way he could identify an opportunity and wasn't afraid of like jumping at it. At least ask. You know what I mean? Like I think that took some courage. Because we're all afraid of being turned down. You know what I mean? Even especially grown-ups. I think grown-ups. I don't really think there's a big difference between the way kids handle being turned down to kids. You know what I mean? Some fucking grown-ups throw tantrums just their own fucking way. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I thought that was pretty cool, and I definitely want to keep on feeding that energy that he has, and because man, they're gonna need it. They're gonna need that confidence. You know what I mean? They're gonna need that you know what? Let me try it. Let me try it, and let me see. And if I fuck it up, then let me try it again. And then as long as I learn and I make it better and better and better, that's one of the reasons why I keep these first episodes on there. That way they could be like, wait a minute, my dad, this one doesn't sound that good, but he still put it up. But the next one, the next, okay, I see. And then, they have me. So they could be like, Dad, this and this and this. Like, yeah, you could see the progress. That's why I kept them on there. Same thing with their YouTube channels, and just explain everything to them. But those are just like seeds that I'm planting. That way they can discover them. Because if I tell them, you know what I mean? It's that curse as a parent where they just look at you like, yeah, okay, keep it going, Dad. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys seen that video of Kobe. I think it's an interview, and he was talking about how he would talk to his girls, you know what I mean, give them all these motivational talks and stuff like that all parents do, or hopefully all parents do. Well, never mind, some parents do. You know what I mean? That I know I give my kids, and they just look at me and they're like, all right, we get it, shut up. You know what I mean? So that's what he was saying. He's like, man, I give them these talks and tell them you can be great, and tell them this and tell them that, and blah blah blah. And they just, he was saying like that, and they just look at me like, okay. And he would get like frustrated, like, ugh, you know what I mean? And so then he said that one day he took them to a Beyonce concert, and he took them backstage, and they were losing their minds. They're like, oh my god, it's Beyonce or whatever. And she, Beyonce looked at the girls, and she's like, do you understand who your dad is? Like, your dad is awesome, your dad is great, your dad is this, your dad is that. You could become anything you want to, because this and this, and basically giving the same idea of speeches that he would give them. And then that they were telling him that when they left, they're like, oh man, this and this, and she said this, so I could become anything I want to, I could do anything I want to do. And he just he just looked at them like, are you kidding me? Like, I always tell you this. Like, what the hell? Oh, but because Beyonce told you now, it's valid. And he's like, but that's the curse of being a parent, and that is so true, man. Like, and I don't think just like a parent, definitely a parent, but like I think just in general, like whoever is close to you, they're not gonna take you as serious, or they might even take you for granted because they're so close. But if someone else tells them something, If someone else tells them the exact same thing you told them, then it's like, oh man, it's looked and revered upon and put on a pedestal and shit. And like, oh my God, I will hang on to these words forever. Oh my God, this person cares so much about me. And then you're just there like, the fuck? You know what I mean? And I know I've done it, being young, being the receiver of that information, but I've also been the giver, you know what I mean? Like wait, what the fuck? I just said that. And it's like, no, 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 but it's like doesn't matter because you said it. So and so said it, and that makes it valid. It's like, god damn. But hey, man, as long as they get the fucking message, at the end of the day, just get the message. You know what I mean? And that's all we can hope for. Um, yeah, man. So I'm really proud of both of my kids because it takes dedication, it takes creativity to do these videos, you know what I mean? And they're learning like, oh, okay, because I'll ask them like, okay, what do you want to do? What do you this? What do you that? And they look at me at first like, well, why, what's with the plan? But then it's like, all right, and then I set everything up, and then we just waste a bunch of time, and it's like, don't you think it's better if we approach this with the plan, like a beginning and an end? So they're getting the hang of it little by little. They're learning. They are my kids, so they're stubborn as hell. You know what I mean? So for them to be like, oh, okay, it does take some time, but as long as they get the message somehow. But yeah, things are going good for them. I'm proud of them. Oh yeah, so I kind of wanted to update you guys too on some movies that we saw. I know last episode I was talking about some movies that me and my wife were watching. Um, and we checked some other ones out that I wanted to let you guys know. Of course, I'm not gonna ruin anything. Just my opinion, which you can just ball up and throw in the trash if you want. But if you don't got shit to do and you don't want to waste time fucking channel surfing, no, what is it now? Scrolling for fucking hours. You know what I mean? You could try these movies out if you want. Wish I could get fucking paid. I'm just playing. So one of them is I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called Samaritan with Sylvester Stallone. It's on that one's on Amazon. It was pretty decent, man. I know I mentioned last time like I was kind of excited because it had like the whole superhero thing. Um, it could have gone bad. There was definitely parts where I was like, oh no, this is gonna get a little cringe or whatever. But no, it was pretty good. It was decent, man. I really liked the movie. It was different. Um, yeah. So if you guys want to check that shit out, mm, I guess I would highly recommend it. Yeah, it's decent. The puro panzazo. I highly recommend it. You know what I mean? Definitely a doable movie. Oh yeah, man. Well, actually, let me talk about this other one. Well, it's the one we saw, right? There's this movie. I don't know the title. It's on Netflix. It's a foreign movie. Fuck, I forgot from where. Anyways, what was it called? Fuck, I don't remember what it's called. It's basically your typical movie of, there's this couple, they're married, and then one of them starts cheating, and there's drama back and forth, blah blah blah. Um, I saw it. Oh, I tried to see it. I fell asleep, woke up. It was a long ass movie, I think, and yeah, it's just very predictable and stuff. But I think my wife liked it. I'm not sure. I gotta ask her. Because she was still watching it. Like I woke up and it was still on, but it was about to finish or whatever. It was whatever for me, for my taste. Um, I'll, I'll I'll make sure I mention it on the next episode because I don't remember the name of it. I just know it's on Netflix. Oh yeah, but this other one, right? And it's called Mo. It's a show. Um, it's with the comedian. His name's Mo. Fuck. Mo Ahmed. I think. I don't remember. But he's a comedian and he got his own show, and I think it's 8 episodes, and they're like half an hour long. It was very doable, especially for me, because it's very hard for me to commit and shit. Um, but I really liked it, and I was eager to see this one too because I really liked him as a comedian. I think he has like two specials up on Netflix too. They're pretty cool. Definitely my type of comedy, and yeah, man, it was dope. I really liked the show. That one, without a doubt, I could say I highly recommend it. Good story. Um, and yeah, man, he's got some good acting chops, man. I give him props for that. Um, and also, I don't really have this one written down, but I just popped into my head. Speaking of comedians, we checked out that Joe Coy movie. I think it's called Easter Sunday or something about Easter. Man, again, this is just my opinion and my taste. You can go check it out for yourselves. I think we got as far as maybe. I'll give him credit. I think we went as far as like 15 minutes in, and then we just stopped the movie. And I don't want to talk shit about, because I'm pretty sure it was hard work to get that shit done. But yeah, it was not my cup of tea. Not even my wife liked that shit. And we're like, yeah, we're not doing this. 'Cause I found myself getting upset. I'm like, what the fuck, man? What is this? So yeah, check it out if you want. Let me know what you think. It was, yeah. Uh, yeah, no, I don't want to ruin it. If you do end up checking it out and can last through the whole movie, let me know how it goes. um, let's get into some of these sponsors, shall we? Oh man, this episode is brought to you by your mom's chancla. Do you have chores to do? Do you have bills to pay? Do you have a podcast to record but don't feel like doing it? Well, YMC is just right for you. Just one serving of your mom's chancla will get you right back on track and remind you who's boss. Your mom. Order now and we'll include a serving of your dad's belt for free. Order YMC today because all we're missing is your A. Come on, sponsors. I'm reading. I'm reading good now. I'm getting better. Come on, sponsor me, please. I need the money. Okay, I don't need the money. It would be nice. So last episode, I was talking about my musical genesis, basically. How it's not. I can't really sum it up in like 5 minutes and shit. Like, yeah, man, I just started 5 years ago, and this is how good I am so far. Definitely not. But if you guys, you know, want to learn more about me, you guys can check that episode out first, and then this one will make sense because I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna pick up where I left off on the other one. Um, so yeah, um, quite a journey. You want to talk about meant to be at this point? Yeah, the past couple of years, I'm like, all right, this shit's meant to be. Like I can't ignore this shit no more. You know what I mean? I just need to get over this hump of of me following this little dumb idea that's in my head. You know what I mean? Because from time to time, I still get it where it's like, ¿qué estás haciendo, Junior? Like, just fucking go get a fucking real job. You know what I mean? But I see the potential and the opportunities and the possibilities and how happy I could be and make my family. Um, that I'm like, yeah, I don't mind busting my ass for this shit. You know what I mean? Because I put myself in other scenarios like, well, I'll just apply over here, or I'll just apply over there, or I'll just this and I'll just that, and they all end with the same thing. Like, wait a minute, at a certain point, I'm just gonna run into some bullshit, get fed up, and then leave because I tend to make sense. You know what I mean? And I don't think they like that. You know what I mean? They want robots. They want you to shut the fuck up, look down, and keep on working till your shift is over. And even when your shift has to be over, you might have to stay longer. Oh, you have a day off? You know what? Come in too. I'm just done with it. You know what I mean? Anyways, sour much? But anyways, so we left off. Okay, so um, we left off to where I started making music while I was working at the theater at the projection booth or whatever. We were making music, blah blah blah. Um, Let me see. Let me see. Okay, so that part, that chapter of making music or whatever, was done for. Our group split up. I mean, we weren't even really like tight like that. It's not like we just made like one or two songs, but the ideas and the brainstormings were there. You know what I mean? And I don't want to say I got bit by the bug. It just like the shit. What's the how can I compare this to it? Just like the bug was dormant, basically, you know what I mean? And it woke the bug up, and I'm like, okay. And you could just imagine the self doubt, you know what I mean? Because how many times I started and then stopped and started and then stopped. There's a lot of self doubt, especially at this point, you know what I mean? At every point, really. Even now, fuck, who am I kidding? But at that point, yeah, so me quedé con las ganas, basically. And I was like, huh. So next thing you know, I would have to say at least, man, maybe 6 months to a year passed, right? To where like we stopped, and then I started getting into things again to where I'm like, I really want to make music. I really liked it. Like I think I could do better. So then I didn't. So basically, every time I would want to make music, I'm like, I don't have beats. I need music. I need beats to rap over. How the fuck? You know what I mean? And at this point, YouTube wasn't the YouTube of now, of course, And so it was really hard to like, how the fuck am I gonna, get beats? I need beats. I need beats. Um, so then I started looking into drum machine, you know, um, because I had learned my lesson that I do not need a sampler. So this time I looked into a drum machine, and mind you, from that point on to after I got my no, after I got my sampler and all that drama happened, I learned what it is I needed, and it was like thousands of dollars, right? It was an MPC. I remember ripping this page off a magazine. Okay, and this is back in high school too. I forgot to tell this part of the story. Um, I remember like that's what I need. And I remember ripping the page off the magazine and folding it up. Dude, I carried that page in my wallet for shit. I just threw it away probably like 3 years ago. Because it was like a full page of a magazine, you know what I mean? So it was kind of bulky because I had to fold it up so many times. And yeah, man, I think it was part of that. Like, I just got to get rid of shit, you know? And I'm like, what is this? And I remember like, oh yeah, and I was so used to seeing it there that one day I was just like, I don't think I need this shit anymore. You know? And like I understand why I was carrying it and, just to remind myself, but I think I could throw this away now. And I finally threw it away. So I carried that shit for shit, man. Off the top of my head, maybe like 15 years. Yeah. Yeah. And so okay, so we ended the group or whatever. Now I'm starting to get the itch again. But I'm like, okay, I need beats. So then let me look for drum machines and let me look for some to see if there's something cheaper, right? And for all you nerds out there, I did my homework. I bought myself an Akai XR20 beat machine. Okay. Now this beat machine is like there was no software, it wouldn't connect to your laptop, none of this shit. It was just the machine itself. So it had these pre-programmed sounds, so you only had a certain amount of sound. There had to be like there was quite a few sounds in there, but that was it. If you could load some more in there, I didn't know how. You know what I mean? So I bought that shit and I just started getting into like producer mode. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, I think I can. I wouldn't want to say I was confident in my pen, but I kind of knew what I had to do to like tap in as far as writing goes. But I was like, I really need to learn this machine. So, sure enough, I just started like every day after work, I would just like tap away. Learn, push knobs. No, not push. Turn knobs and push buttons. Um, ay, Roberto. Um, oh my god. Uh, yeah. So I just started learning it, and it took me a while, man. It took me a while. Because there were some days where I wasn't up for learning it. You know what I mean? It was like I would just hit a wall. I would just like because life was happening. You know what I mean? Life was like, oh, there's so much turbulent shit that I'm just like, I don't fucking feel like it. I don't fucking feel like it. So it took me a while. Finally figured it out. Um, Now during this time, like the staff at work had changed. You know what I mean? You know, people would leave, then we get people, and then people would leave, then we get people. So we're talking about a whole different crew, right? I think I was like one out of like two or three originals. Um, and So then I had this coworker up there with me, and come to find out, he had a studio in his house that he was building, and well, he wasn't building it, but like he was financing it basically. So I think he was like, they had a room in his house, and he would like, fuck, I don't remember how it happened, but like basically he built a studio in an extra room in his house. Wait a minute. No, 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 no. Pause, pause, pause. That did happen, but before that, so so I had this coworker, right? And I don't know how we started talking about music, whatever, whatever. And then he's like, "Oh, I do music." I was like, "Really? Cool. Like, what do you do?" He had a rock band or whatever. I was like, "Oh shit, that's cool, man. This and that." Like, yeah, like, and then I would tell him like, I want to get into doing music or whatever. He's like, "Oh, really? You do music too?" I was like, "Well, I don't want to really say I do music. I just want to, keep on learning and blah blah blah, whatever." And I have this machine, and I've learned how to like just program very simple beats and stuff, and like, "Oh, okay, cool." So then he said, "If you want, I could record you." And it was like, "Oh," I was like, "For real?" He's like, "Yeah, man. I could just come over to my house, and I can record you in my room." That's what it was. It was in his room. So like, all right, cool. Let me get this beat, and then I'll write to it, and then I'll let you know. He's like, all right, cool. So I was like, oh shit. So then I started writing to it, and then I was like, okay, cool. So then I show up, and if I'm not mistaken, it was me, him, and this other coworker, because he just thought it was so cool that he wanted to be like a part of it. I was like, yeah, sure, just come on. So we show up in his room. He had a mixer, and he just hooked up he knew everything. He was very like, he knew all the equipment. And I was like, here you go, blah blah blah, this and this. He's like, yeah, yeah, I know how to load it up and everything. Like, can you hear it? Like, yeah, okay, cool. And I think I was holding the mic, I think, or did he have a stand? I don't remember. But he's like, okay, cool. You ready? And I was like, yeah, look, I want to record it like this. Worked out all the kinks. He's like, okay. So then, I was holding my notebook paper, and, I would record, and then I would stop, and like, oh man, I would mess up, right? I would mess up a lot. And then finally I got it, I laid it down, right? And then I was like, what do you think? And he said, well, it sounds like you're reading it. And I was like, well, I am reading it. And he said, yeah, but I could hear you reading. And I didn't get it. I didn't get what he meant. Because to me, I was like, but I am. But now, of course, I understand what he meant. He meant the tone. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like you're reading. Like my dumbass when I read the fucking the sponsors. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay. So when I would rap like this because I was reading. You know what I mean? Not that exaggerated, but you get the fucking point. Um, so I was like, okay. So what do I do? And he said, well, don't use the paper. And I was like, but I need the paper so I could read my words. And he said, well, then why don't you memorize it and then you can lay it down? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, my fucking knees got weak and shit. I was like, you mean like what Biggie does? You know what I mean? Like what Jay-Z does? Like, oh my God, that's impossible. And I was like, okay, good. Because he just like motivated me. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't lie to me. He told me it didn't sound good. And he gave me constructive criticism, basically. And I don't know if he ever gave me a copy of that, but that was like so engraved in my head that I'm like, oh shit, like, okay. So from that point on, my mission was to make sure I memorized everything when I laid everything down. So I was like, all right, cool. So that was the main goal, you know what I mean? And yeah, I will say that some ego went into it too, because I was like, I want to do it like Biggie and Jay-Z does, which is stupid. You know what I mean? That's what they do. I shouldn't have applied that to myself. But anyways, um, so I practiced it, and I was like, okay, cool. Now the only thing about recording with him was that, he was recording me for free, first of all, and second, he would tell me like the dates would change, constantly because, he had his band and he had his life. You know what I mean? It's not like he had a full-fledged studio or anything like that. This is just on the side. So then he finally we got back to well, not back together, but I hit him up again to record, and yeah, I laid it down. I laid everything down without the paper and everything, and he's like, "Yep, that sounded good," and I was like, "All right, cool." So then I was like, I have to set a goal for myself. You know what I mean? I proved myself that I could do that, but I don't know what to do with that. You know. So then I was like, well, I kind of know how to make beats. I wasn't the best, but I kind of was working at it. And I was like, what if I focus on making an album? So I started focusing on making this album. Now, if you ever find this album, please throw it away in the trash after you burn it and stomp on it. It's a very cringeable project, but I did learn a lot. I learned I learned about delivery and I learned about flow, because from the beginning of that project to the end, my main goal was to basically not read my lyrics when I was recording. So everything was already in my head by the time I was going to record. The thing is that I was lacking voice, I was lacking flow, like I said, I was lacking delivery, everything. It was very blah. And I didn't really realize that till we finished it. You know what I mean? Because I ended up making like, oh shit, like 10 tracks, I think. And yeah, man, it was a very big learning experience. And by that time too, we went from like recording in his room to like, hey man, like I'm turning the den into like a studio or whatever. And I'm like, holy shit. And then he had like all like his setup, like it was pretty dope. And but again, it just took a long time because there was a lot of delay, which was I kind of didn't mind it either, because it gave me time to, to write and to create and to, you know what I mean. But it did take quite a while. Shit, where was I? Yeah, okay. So then that album that was completed there was called The Dawning. But again, I don't like it. And I know my big brother has a copy of that shit, and I keep on telling him to throw that shit away. I don't want to hear it, and I'm pretty sure you don't either. Um, but again, right after it finished, I put pressure on myself to get it going, right? So, and this is the mentality I had back then, right? I was like, okay, I created something, now I have to put it out there. Now, mind you, I think like MySpace was going on, but at this point I was like, I don't want to do anything in the city. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to run into someone that I used to know, and it's gonna be embarrassing. And I don't want them to see me, but I want everybody else to see. I don't want them to see me, but I want the whole world to see me. That was my logic. So then, my logic back then again was I found this. What was it like this showcase or whatever in Austin on MySpace. I found them there, so I would follow them and I would see them like post regularly and like they would hype it up and like, oh man, we just had an event and it was crazy and blah blah blah. And I would look at the pictures and the videos and I'm like, what? I ate that shit up, right? So I was like, that's where I need to go. Ay, Roberto. That's where I need to go, right? So somehow it made sense to me to go all the way over there to perform shit. I don't even know, like 3 songs off the album or whatever. So after so what happened? Oh, and I was printing physical copies too, eh? Yeah, yeah, man. It was time consuming and money consuming, and I believe Haley was just born. She wasn't even like a year old yet. So we're going into 2010. All right, that for you motherfuckers keeping track. Um, and so from like 06, 07, we go to that point, right? Because in 06, 07, that's when I started working at the theater. So motherfuckers do the math. So then I go I go to my coworker's house or whatever, and he's like, I need to mix and master that way it could be an album. And I was like, what is that? And he started telling me what that is and stuff. And I was like, oh shit, okay. He said, but that takes some time. And I'm like, okay. So then that took some more time too. And then finally he did it. And then I was like, okay, cool. So then I started looking into buying CDs, burning them, buying labels, buying CD cases. Oh yeah, people. I went all out for this shit. Printing out the front cover and the back cover. It was a motherfucking man, that shit. I spent so much money on ink and labels and all this shit and CDs. Man, I remember my sister, she for Christmas or for my birthday, she bought me like a pack of CDs to help me out and shit. And so then I just burned a bunch of them and I wasn't even selling them because I understood. I was like, first of all, I understood that it was shit, but it was complete, you know? And I felt bad for even selling it. So I was like, let me just give them out. Let me just get my shit out there. So I would go like to the FYE at Bassett. I even went to the FYE in the West Side and I would just ask them like, can I just leave these CDs here? And I would leave like 10 of them on the counter, like take one for free. And they're like, yeah, yeah, sure. And I went to, what's it called? Sam Goodies? No, whatever the fuck, across from Cielo Vista. No, but it was when they were still on Lee Trevino. All that music or Sam Goody, one of those two. So I would go in there and I would tell them like, can I leave the CDs here? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, look, you could leave them over there on the bulletin board, and that people leave their stuff there. I'm like, okay, cool. So I left. I would leave them there, and then so yeah, I was like, okay, what songs do I want to perform at this show? And I chose like 2 or 3. I think it was like 2 or 3. I don't remember. But anyways, like there was so much in my head, right? There was so much writing on this show, to go all the way over there. I'm telling you, man, there was so much energy and like good intention. I just didn't know where to steer it into. So I ended up like flying over there, right? I flew over there. I got a room at the Motel 6 for one night. So it was just I got there, and then I think I got there in the afternoon, and then the show was later on that night, and then I came back the next morning. So I I got there and I was in communication with this guy, like, hey man, I'm on my way, and you guys this and that. He's like, yeah man, hit us up, man, it's gonna be great, blah blah blah. And I'm like, all right, cool. And I was fucking nervous, but I was like, I gotta do this, dude. When I left and I called my wife when I got there. No, I let her know. I think I like texted her because I didn't. I remember talking to her when I got in the room. So I got the room, and then I was like, "Hey, I'm here, whatever, blah blah, just letting you know." And she's like, "Okay." And then I was like, I was getting choked up a little bit because I was like, "What the fuck am I doing out here by myself?" Like it was like a real moment, you know. And so I was already like, "Oh man!" And then I heard my daughter like she wasn't like crying, but I just heard her, you know what I mean? And just hearing her, I was like, "Man," because I was really trying to hold it together, just talking to my wife. But then when I heard my daughter, I was like, "Ugh," and I just started breaking down. I was like, "What the fuck am I doing? Like I don't know what I'm doing, you know?" And she's like, "You'll be fine," and blah blah. And I was like, "All right, fuck it." So then, time of the show, time for me to leave to go to the show. So I go and según yo, I'm like, oh shit, what do you call it? Like I'm a tourist, you know what I mean? So I'm walking around and shit. I saw the Capitol like from far away or whatever, and I go to this. What was it? I think it was a bar or like a cafe, some shit. So I go right and I get there and I'm kind of early. I'm like an hour early or some shit like that. And it like the bartender's there, and I would say maybe like three people are there. And I'm like, hey, I'm looking for so and so. I forgot the guy's name, and they're like, oh yeah, he'll be here right now, man. You can go ahead and have a seat or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I remember I took my backpack with some CDs there because I was like, I'm gonna hand them out. And I was like, okay, cool. And then I handed those three CDs to those three people, and they're like, "Oh, cool, man, thanks," and whatever, blah blah. So then the guy gets there, and he's like, "Hey, what's up, man? Are you Robert?" And it's like, "Yeah, well, what's up?" And he's like, "All right, man, you ready? Let me just set up and whatever." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'm looking around, and I'm like, uh, "I guess he's gonna wait till more people get here, or whatever." And like 5 minutes later, he's like, "All right, man, you ready?" And I was like, "What the fuck?" And I turn around, and it's those three same people that are just there staring at me. I was like, "What the fuck?" So then he's like, he gets the microphone. He's like, "All right, everybody, welcome," and this and that. And it just like dawned on me, like, oh, this is all hype. Their page is all hype. This was nothing like I had it played in my head. I was like, oh, so like the ¿cómo se dice? La decepción de like, this isn't what I was expecting. That really like boom. And then he hands me the mic and I hear my song play and I was like, oh shit. So I was just kind of going with it. And then I finish the first verse, I go into the hook, and then the second verse comes up and I didn't know it. I didn't know it, and I just started rapping the first verse again. And I think one of the guys that was there watching us, he was like, "Hey, hey," he was like kind of jamming out, and I was just looking at him, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, I'm getting a reaction. I don't know what to do, uh, but I want to kind of show that I'm confident. All these things fell into play. Like, how the fuck do I hold this microphone? Am I moving too much? Am I moving too little? The stage wasn't even a stage. It was like a little platform. It was like a pallet. It was like a large pallet. You know what I mean? It was just like a big square, and I was like so out of my element, and it ended. You know what I mean? And they're like, "Hey man, you did good job," and this and that. Oh, because so I think I had planned to do like two songs. I think 2 or 3 songs. After I fucking blanked out, I was trying to remember how the other songs went, and I couldn't. I couldn't. All the experience was just so overwhelming that I was just like, I can't. I'm freezing up. I'm freezing up. And I just like I gave him back the mic. I'm like, and I told him I was like, I'm done. And he's like, and he looked at me. He's like, all right, okay, cool. Hey man, give it up for Rob D and this and that, blah blah. And then I think he was like freestyling a little bit, getting the crowd hyped up. And at this point, I think like 2 more people showed up, and So I went up to them, I gave them my CDs, and then the I remember the people that were already there, they were like, "Hey man, we got one too. Check it out." Telling the people that I'm giving the CDs to, and they're really nice. They're really really nice. And but yeah, man, that was it. And I remember like I left. I was like, "Hey man, I gotta go. I gotta catch my flight or whatever." He's like, "All right, man. Thanks for coming." And I was like, "Damn, that's it." Like I was so disappointed. You know what I mean? I was disappointed in myself for believing the hype, on their page. I was disappointed in everything, I guess. Um but more in myself for believing that there was something that didn't exist. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. And man, you want to talk about a low, low, low time, man? Because I'm 23. We have a newborn. I'm trying to chase my dream. I'm realizing that I'm all alone in this. I gotta figure shit out by my own. I just failed. I just bombed. In comedian terms, I just bombed, and I don't know what to do next. You know, with this album that I have, with my dream, really. So I don't even know if I really slept that good that night, but I flew back and I never talked about it. You know what I mean? It was just like it went like whatever. My wife was like, "Oh, it's okay," and yeah, I just kind of shied away from music for a while, and yeah, I think I had convinced myself that it wasn't for me. You know what I mean? It was. I don't want to say it was traumatizing because it wasn't, but it was damn near close. You know what I mean? It was a big reality check, is what it was. Like, holy shit. So so then pause that. Now fast forward. Some time goes on, and I'm over here trying to like get get another job, or I did get another job, and whatever life is going through. You know what I mean? You could kind of put the pieces to the puzzle together with other episodes. The stages in life and shit. You know what I mean? Um, life is happening, and I would say maybe like 2-3 years later after that, right? Um, I get the bug again. I don't remember how. Oh yeah, well there would be times throughout this journey where I would constantly look at like, okay, I would hear a song, or I would see a video, or I would see a documentary, I would see something, and I would like, I wonder how much I can do now. But that was always a thought, because like ever since I first started, I always needed something. I always needed beats. I always needed somewhere to record. I always needed guidance, or I would run into someone that had the same ideas as me, or the same dreams, or whatever. So, once in a while something would happen, or I would hear something or something, I would experience something where I'm like, and I think the internet is very reliable for checking, your options, what tools are available to you. So I would Google, or I would YouTube stuff, and this had to be around like 2012, 13 maybe. Um and I don't remember what sparked the idea, but the deal was that I was like, okay, kind of want to do this again. And I it had to be like 20, let's just say 2012. So being a young parent, me bajaba el avión yo solo, you know what I mean? Cuz I'm like, I really want to do this, but come on, Robert, get with it. It was a constant back and forth. So I realized that I understood how much dedication it took to produce, and I understood that in order for me to create what I wanted to create, what I thought was quality, I had to like really, really dedicate myself to that drum machine. And I knew that at a certain point I was going to outgrow it and I was going to need an upgrade, which meant more money. And again, as a young parent, I didn't have that disposable income like that. So uh, I basically, Rob, the producer, just, I just stopped it right there. You know what I mean? Um, and I think eventually I ended up just, no, I kept that fucking drum machine. That's right. I kept it in my closet. Yeah. So then I was like, okay, scratch the making your own beats. And obviously, I don't put myself out there like that to like, check out the scene or whatever. Hold on, pause. I'm parched. Okay. Um. I would, I didn't know anybody. You know what I mean? I didn't put myself out there like that. I wasn't using social media like that. And so I was like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I know I can download instrumentals, known instrumentals, of course, and I'll just write to those. I'll write to those, and then let me write to it. Let me see where my pen's at, and then I guess I'll look for studio. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I did. I started writing to these beats and stuff, and then mind you, when I going back to the Dawning album, um, I had shown. I think that's the first time I brought up my music dream to my big brother. And so I would talk to him about it and stuff like that. So the talks have been happening ever since then with him. Uh, so fast forward, I would get together with my big brother. We would talk about music or whatever, and then he would show me music. So then I would like, I would surprise him sometimes and like get the instrumentals of these songs that he would talk about, and then I would rap over them. And I like, what do you think? Like, oh shit, you know what I mean? So like, it was pretty cool. It gave me like a purpose again. So I was like, all right, cool. So now I'm like, okay, I got these beats here. How the fuck do I find a fucking studio? Where do I record these shits at? And I was like, fuck it. And I just Googled, recording studios in the city, and I found one in downtown. And I just hit him up, and basically like, yeah, just meet me here. It's gonna be this much an hour, blah blah blah. And I was like, what? An hour? Fuck that. Let me make sure I got all my shit down using my what my ex coworker had suggested. Memorize it, know what you want to lay down, and then that way you can just knock it out. So I go, I check out the studio or whatever, and he's like, "Yeah, man." I remember getting like tripping out because it was like really nice. He had a pool table, he had a couch, he had a big TV, and then he had the booth or whatever, and then the control room. And I'm like, why would people just sit here and just basically pay him to like chill? It didn't make sense to me. But again, I'm not. I don't come from that. I don't come from like hanging at the studio all day and spending all your check at the studio. You know what I mean? Like creating at the studio. I don't create at the studio. I create while life is going on. You know what I mean? And so I was just like, what? People record here like that? Like people just give you their money like that? You know what I mean? It tripped me out. So I was like, all right, well, I think I got like a song or two. I think I had like two songs ready. I was like, maybe I can knock them out in an hour. And he's like, I could kind of tell. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could kind of tell that he didn't like that. And like, oh shit, But he didn't say anything, so I just showed up with my two songs, and I was like, let me do this one first, and if we have time, maybe I can knock the other one out. They're like, okay. So then, yeah, sure enough, I knocked both of them out. He gave me a rough draft, and he's like, let me mix them for you, and blah blah blah. So I was like, all right, cool. What does that mean? And then he would explain it to me, and then like, oh, okay, so basically just like polishing them up and stuff like that. And all right, cool, yeah, just give me like a rough draft. And yeah, I would only spend like an hour, but it was hell because I didn't live close to downtown. You know what I mean? So I'd have to go all the way over there and then come all the way back home. And then my wife would say like, oh man, you're gonna leave. And like, I know, but but what about the gas? And I'm like, trust me, I know, I get it, but I really want to do this. So then I remember like he gave me the CD with both the songs, and I was like, "Can you give me two copies?" And like, yeah. So then he burnt me two copies, and I'm heading home, and I swung by, and this was already like like 9 o'clock at night or whatever. And I remember like texting my big brother like, "Hey man, I'm gonna leave a something in the mailbox. I'm gonna leave a CD in the mailbox. You could just get it, the next morning or whatever. Check it out. Let me know what you think." So I would just like I would do that. I wouldn't do that often. Like I probably did like 2 or 3 times. And he's like, "Oh shit, I checked it out, man. It was good." And he would text me the next morning or whatever. So it was like, "Cool, man. This is cool. This is fun or whatever." And then so then this guy that owned the studio, he told me once, he said, um, maybe he, I don't want to say he wasn't nice because he was nice, but he was guarded, he was very guarded. But at the same time, he would kind of show that he was willing to help me, which is, yeah, it was kind of awkward because he would tell me, like, "Hey, how about when you have your song written out, when you think it's ready, why don't you call me and rap the song over the phone, and then maybe I can give you some pointers and stuff." And I'm like, and at that point I'm like, I don't want anybody to hear this until it's ready to get recorded. You know what I mean? Again, dumb, 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 dumb. If people are willing to give you feedback, then take it. It's help. But back then I was like, no man, like you just hear it when you hear it. Whatever the fuck I said. Um, so then one that there was one last time when I went to the studio in downtown. I just recorded like one song or whatever, and he told me, he said, "Hey, I'm next time you want to record, um, hit me up at my house." And I was like, "At your house?" He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of the studio." And I was like, "Oh shit." And he said, "So just hit me up at my house. I'm having my own setup over there now. I'm just gonna take everything over there, and I could record you over there, for the same amount, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And he said, "I'm really not offering my house to everybody, but I like your shit or whatever." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So then he lived right. Oh fuck. He lived in Socorro, but like the beginning stages of it. You know what I mean? It was like a new area and shit. So I was like, "Ay, güey, como que me quedo igual." You know what I mean? Just the opposite side of town. And if you're not from here, fuck it. I drove. You know what I mean? It wasn't short. I couldn't walk over there. Um, so yeah, and I remember showing up to his house, and I remember him telling me like, "So what do you want to do?" I guess that's where he was like, "Let me pick his brain." And he's like, "So what do you want to do with this, man? Like, do you want to, like, what do you want to do?" And in my head, like deep, deep, deep down, I was like, "Shit, I want to be, successful. I want to make a living off of this." But it was so dumb. Deja tú, it was so dumb to have it in my head, let alone tell some fucking stranger, my dream. You know what I mean? And plus, like I said, he was really guarded, so it was kind of hard to like open up to him. So I was like, I mean, he's like, "Do you really want to do this, or like, are you just doing this for fun?" And I was like, I don't know. I mean, kind of, it is fun to do, but I just want to see where this goes. I want to see if I'm good enough, to be able to take this further. He's like, "Okay, all right." He's like, "Yeah, man, because I do some music too, but I just do it for fun. But if you really want to take this serious, then maybe I can help you out." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, whatever." So then I had like two sessions with him there. That first one, and then there was another one, and the second one, I took my big brother, right? Because I told him, "Hey man, I'm going over here, and maybe you could go with me, just so you could be there." And he was like, all right, cool. And I remember he went, oh shit, I'm just remembering this. I remember he went and he recorded, he took his video camera. Oh, fuck. That's right. Um, yeah, he took his video camera. He was recording me, and it was at this guy's garage, and he was converting his garage, and he had like his mic set up like in the middle of the garage, and then he had like a couch up against the wall, and then he had his desk on the other side of the wall. Like it was really DIY, kind of like my setup. You know what I mean? But I was like, I don't fucking care, man. Just record me. You know what I mean? And there was one thing though that I was like kind of disappointed in. Just just put a pin in it really quick. Um, this whole like, I remember he would say like, I gotta mix it, I gotta master it, and all this shit. When he would give me the finished versions or whatever, they sounded the same to me. Like I don't know if my ears weren't tuned or whatever, but I was like, this shit sounds the same. Like what the fuck? But anyways, that always stood out to me. Like, what is the finished for? Like, I was expecting this because this is what I understood that you told me. You know what I mean? But anyways, so yeah, my big brother went to one of those sessions and I recorded or whatever, and that song I remember telling him like, "Hey man, you know that song that we did? Um, do you know any producers? You know, cause I think this song is good enough to like maybe where I could put it out on my own. You know what I mean? Now, mind you, I did not know what the fuck steps I had to do or take or whatever. But he's like, yeah, man, I got a homie who, he makes beats and stuff. Maybe you can, hit us up. I'll let him know. We agreed on a date or whatever, and then I hit him up or whatever. So then, I meet this guy, and basically he was just like, yeah, okay. He already showed me the song, but I had no business out there. You know what I mean? Uh, we didn't talk, we didn't click, we didn't like nothing. He was just like, "What's up?" And he was just talking to the other guy, basically. You know what I mean? Like, "Oh yeah, last night, man, all these bitches were there, and blah blah blah." Uh, so yeah, he showed me the song, bro. Pretty good. So you just wanted to sound like that? Like, what do you want it to sound like? And in my head, I'm like, I don't know, producer. That's a very good question. Why don't you meet me halfway? You know what I mean? It's not like you're gonna do this shit for free. So he's like, all right, let me cook something up, and then I'll let you know like in a week or whatever. A week turned into 2 weeks, and I maybe 3 weeks. I don't remember. But basically, the middleman was the initial guy, right? The guy with the studio. And I was like, hey man, what's up with that beat? And then he's like, oh man, I'll let him know. I'll reach out to him. Oh, it's because he's going through this, going through that. Typical shit, right? That's why you have to own your shit. Do you hear me? Own your shit. Figure that shit out. Anyways, should have made that a fucking sponsor clip. Own your. This episode is brought to you by Own Your Shit. um, so yeah, big runaround. They gave me the big runaround. Finally, go over one day. All right, let me see. This motherfucker, seems he's a badass. He seems experienced. He had a fucking tattoo sleeve of a keyboard, basically. And I was like, this guy knows music. Pendejo Roberto. Um, so yeah, I hear the beat and I'm like, what the fuck is this Mickey Mouse shit? He basically copied the same beat. So the original beat, or the initial beat, I gotta fix this shit. The original beat was the Lil Wayne Hustler's Music. I think that's the name of the song. So go listen to that shit, okay? Now he basically just copied it, but it was a very very homemade version, if you will. And I was like, the fuck is it? I was like, okay, is this like the beginning version of it? Like, is it done? He's like, well, you said you wanted like for it to sound like it. I'm like, well, I don't know what the fuck words to use to tell you to, you know what I mean? I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, nah, man, can you do something else? He's all, yeah, I mean, yeah, let me take it. let me scrap it, and then I'll just see what I can come up with. And in my head, I'm thinking, great, another fucking month of waiting for this shit. And I think they were charging me like, fuck, man. Let's just say for shits and giggles, like $40, right? But he asked for like 20, right? That way he can start making the beat. So then I was like, all right, cool. You know what? I'm gonna be positive. So I left or whatever. And sure enough, the next week I hit him up, and he's like, oh man, he's not this and that. He's not answering. I'm like, what the hell, man? And then second week, third week, I'm like, you know what, man? Can I just hit you up so I can go pick up my money? Cause I really need that money. And yes, it was $20. I needed that fucking money, man. And he's like, oh man, come on. He said he was gonna. It's just that he's going through some shit right now. I was like, nah, man, it's cool. In my head, I'm thinking like, I'm probably not even gonna like this shit anyways. So then he's like, oh man, come on. He told you he was gonna do it, and that's kind of messed up. And why would you even consider it? That's just how things go. All this fucking bullshit. And I was like, man. I was like, you know what? Just I don't even want it, man. Just tell him to keep the money, but I think that's it, man. I don't think I'm gonna go over to record either. And he's like, oh, bro, you sure? Like, why are you acting like this? And I was like, all right, man, I gotta go. And click, and I never spoke to him ever again. I remembered right there, like I was pissed, man, cause man, those $20 fucking hurt. You know what I mean? And yeah, I wonder where he's at now. I have no idea. Yeah, man, I remember like I was really bothered. I was really, really bothered. I was really, really frustrated. And if I'm not mistaken, that's another chapter to that stage where I was just like, fuck it, it's not for me. You know what I mean? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think that was the reason why I stopped, because I was like, man, fuck it. Like, the whole goal is to have my own and own my own, but can't even fucking get a fucking beat from this producer, man. What the fuck? And I didn't know where to look. You know what I mean? Again, I didn't know anything about the scene here, if there even was a scene. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, so that shit ended, and then fast forward, maybe like a year later. Yeah, about it. Yeah, about 13. Yeah, so like this is like 2013. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So then, fast forward a year later, my brother, my big brother, hits me up one day, and he's like, "Hey, so I listened to your shit, because I had these these handful of songs or whatever, and I kind of liked where I was at, writing wise, and I was like, cool, man, like I was having fun and shit, so I was developing, and then boom, just fucking break on that shit." But he was saying, I remember one day he told me, he said, so I play your shit at work sometimes, and I show it to some people, not everybody, but to some people. So I showed it to this coworker of mine, and he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, what is he doing? Like, does he still do music? And he told him, like, nah, he stopped because blah, blah, blah. And he's like, nah, he needs to keep on going. And he's like, I used to do music. He used to like do music. He used to produce, I think, something like that. Um, and he's like, can I meet him? And he's like, whoa. He's like, yeah, sure. So he's like, so he wants to talk to you. He wants to get together to see, how he can help. And I was like, okay. And we met, and he was basically like, how do I say it? He was very like how serious are you? You know what I mean? But what stood out to me was like, hey, you wanted to talk to me. You know what I mean? And I think my big brother told me, he's like, no, I like his shit. Like, he has potential. I like what he's doing, and this and this and this. So I was expecting him to come up to me like, hey man, I like your shit. And he was just like what's up? Like, what's up with you? You know what I mean? And I was like, just doing this, trying to figure it out, like whatever. All this misguided energy and shit, So he's like, we met up at a what is it called? Fuck. We met up at a restaurant. Fuck, I don't remember where. I'm trying to remember. We met up at a restaurant like during the day. Like I had to go to work later, and like, all right, cool, yeah, whatever. So we met up and shit, and he's like, I want to help you. Like, I was like, well, I need beats, man. Like, oh yeah, man, I used to be in a group. I used to make beats, blah 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 blah. He's like, can kick a freestyle? And I was like, whoa. And to me, that's the biggest turnoff, man. Like, I am not your fucking monkey. You know what I mean? I am not your fucking main attraction and shit. Like, first of all, I don't know how to freestyle, nor am I interested in it. I don't have that part of my brain does not function. You know what I mean? Like, that's not my focus. And I was just like, oh, what the fuck? And I turned around and look at my big brother, and he just like shrugged his shoulders, like, like it's your moment. And I was like, fuck. And I was like, and I told him, I was like, look, man, I don't really freestyle. I told him, but I've been working on this here. Like, if you want to hear it. And then I just, I freestyled what I had, the most recent shit that I had or whatever. And he's like, okay. He said, how about, let's get together, man. I really want to help you out and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So we get together. Well, actually, we set something up. We get together. And so it's us three. We ended up getting together at his house, in his garage. There's a recurring theme here, isn't there? And then, so he was like, so I want to help you out, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, all right, the beats, give me the beats. And then he's like, well, do you have any beats? So I was like, what the fuck? Like, I have these, but these are all known beats. He's like, fuck it, let's just start there, And then he started like asking me questions like about hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, hey man, this culture, we take it serious. You know what I mean? And he was from the Bronx, and he's like, we don't take it lightly where I come from. People that want to get into this thing, and I'm like, to me, I'm like, okay. Like, cause I'm like, this isn't new to me. Like, I grew up with this shit, but he never asked, or I was just like, I don't know if he thought I was like, hey, this looks like fun, and I want to be rich and famous. You know what I mean? But that's definitely not me. But he just approached it like that, like, what it almost like a gatekeeper, And he would like quiz me, so he would say like, who created hip hop? And I'm like, oh shit. And in the back of my mind, I kind of knew the answer or something close to it, but I was so like in shock, and afraid really of giving the wrong answer. Like, is he gonna get mad and be like, get the fuck out of my house? You know what I mean? So I was just like, oh shit. Like, he said like, who invented hip hop? And I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, Cool Herc. But I was like, maybe that's what I know, but maybe it's not right. So I was like, and then he's like, I'll give you multiple choice. So he named like three, and then one of them was Cool Herc, and I was like, Cool Herc, and he's like, all right, cool. And he said, now, where is Cool Herc from? And I was like, what? And he's like, is he American? Is he Jamaican? Or is he whatever? And I was like, American? He's like, wrong. He's Jamaican. He came from Jamaica. And then he started giving me this whole explanation on like how it started. And like, you know what I mean? Like, he came from Jamaica, and then he had a sound system, and it was him, and it was Flash, and it was Bambaataa, and like all this shit. And I was like, what the fuck? And I kind of knew that already, but not to the point where I could just like spit it out like he did to me. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck? So he would just like quiz me here and there, you know what I mean? And I'm like, holy shit. So then when it's slowly, like, looking back on it now, that was like my dojo. Like, I went there, like that was like my boot camp. You know what I mean? Because I would go, he would just like, All right, what beat? Let me see. Let's see what beats you have. Okay, and he would play them. You like this one? Like, choose one, and we're gonna make a song to it. I'm like, okay, this one. All right. So make something. Write something. And I'm like, nah. And he's like, what do you mean no? I'm like, I don't really write. I just need to listen to I need to live with the beat. He's like, nah, I need you to write. And I was like, all right, it's gonna be dog shit. And yeah, you know what I mean. And he would look at the paper because he busted out a notebook and a pen and shit. And I was like, all right. And yeah, I was like, I don't work like this. And he's like, well, what do you do? And I was like, I have to live with the beat. Like, I have to choose it. I have to think about what I want to write. And like, it's a process. I can't just squeeze them out. And he's like, okay, all right, okay. So then he's like, all right, like this beat right here. And then he's the one that started showing me about. So like, it was like homework assignments, right? Like, okay, this song is going to be about this. Right? But he would leave it all up to me too. He would like, what do you want this song to be about? What does it sound like to you? So he would like really get my wheels turning. Like, what's the first thing that you think of? What can this be about? Is this this? Is this this? Like, what topic? This. Okay. All right. So let's go off of that. All right. Now, give me like your first two lines. Don't write the whole thing, but how do you think the first two lines would start? And like, da 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 da. And then he started going into flow and delivery and cadences and all this shit, man. Like, okay, the dog went outside. Okay, now, and this is just an example. It wasn't one fucking line, but he would say like the dog went outside, right? That's what it says. But how about the dog went outside? And just like shit like that, like what the fuck? And he just like opened up the like a whole new world for me. I was like, oh shit, and I got it. You know what I mean? I understood it. And then next thing you know, I would show up the next time, and then I'd have almost the whole song ready to go, and then we would lay it down, and then he would put in his input like, no, 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 what about this? Do this, this, this. You get it? Oh shit! And he would kind of like he would get it started for me, and then I would finish it up like that. Like, yeah, I'm telling you, man, it was like my hip hop school, my rapper school. I'm so grateful for that time, man. It was just a few months too, but I learned so much because like we would record, right? We would record in his garage, and he would have me like facing outside, and we like, all right, go. And I would record and like, no, I need more energy. And then like I would go louder, and he's like, no, I don't need you to go louder, I need more energy. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? He's like, look, you sound like this, I need it to sound like this. And I'm like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Because by the end I would leave all hoarse because I was just like using my vocal cords and shit. Like, oh shit. And I'm like, okay, okay, cool. And then I would lay down the whole verse, and then like, all right, now do it again. I'm like, oh fuck. And then all right, do it again, do it again, do it again, do it again. Like, you want to talk about fucking wax on, wax off shit, man. You know what I mean? That's what I went through, and I was like, holy shit. But I wanted to do it. It wasn't work. It was fun, even though I was constantly failing. But it was just fun because he would teach me. He would be patient with me. And like one day I remember he's like, I want you to choose a beat, and I want you just to write to it. And I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling anything. So he's like, all right, but we would have talks about something related to the culture. You know what I mean? Whether it was styles or like how to pick a flow or like basically like all these like how to rap people on YouTube. But we would have these conversations one on one. So I remember one day, uh, um, hold the fuck on. Yeah. Whenever Watch the Throne came out, that's this time period. Because I remember Watch the Throne had just come out, and I was listening to that album leaving his house, okay? So I was driving home, and I heard this one song, and I was like, holy shit. And then the words just started coming to me. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I was just getting pumped, and I was like, oh shit, 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 shit. So then by the time I got home, I was just like writing, and I was like one page, like a page and a half, or like, yeah, a little bit more than a half. No, like a page and a half. I don't give myself that much credit. It's a lot. um, so then I texted him. I was like, man, I got some shit, and he's like, all right, cool. Next time, I'm like, all right, cool. So I was excited. I was like, fuck yeah. And but I just left it there. I didn't look it over. I didn't practice it. I didn't do shit. I just remember the feeling was like a, ooh, like a cleanse. Like fuck yeah, all that shit came out of me. Like wow. So the next time I go, I'm like, all right, it's to this beat. I was like, but the album just came out, and he's like, oh shit, well I can't find it online or anything like that. I'm like, well what the like what do we do? And he's like, you know what? Let's just play it and then just rap it to me. And I'm like, okay, cool. But I hadn't memorized it, so I was just reading off of the notebook. And as I'm reading off of the notebook, everything was dog shit. Everything. It was so embarrassing, man. Because I was rapping it and I wouldn't remember how it was coming off of my head. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember, like, how I said, how I wrote what it was supposed to sound. Like, I was just reading and I would, like, oh, shit. And then like I wasn't even like halfway through the page, right? And I look up at him and I'm just like disappointed. And I look at him, I'm like, oh man. And I was gonna tell him like, never mind. But I looked at him and I was like, oh man. And he's all, keep going. And I was like, what? He's all, keep going, keep reading. And I was like, oh, okay. So, so I kept on reading and it was just like, oh, it was just like I'm just stumbling all over the place, trying to like my best to like remember how this gold came out of my brain and onto the paper, and I couldn't remember. And I was like, fuck. And I remember just like barely making it to the last line, just dragging ass and like dun dun dun, whatever the last line was. And I was like, man, and I was so embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was like, I felt tiny, like a fucking speck. And he looks at me and he says, you feel better? And I was like, damn. I was like, not really. He's all, but you got it out, right? And I was like, yeah. He's all right. So I was working on this song, right? The one that we were working on last time. And he just kept going. I was like, what the fuck? And we just started talking about this previous song that we were working on. And we just started working on it. And I was like, and that was like a mind fuck to me. I was like, what? But now looking back on it, I was like, oh shit. Like that was another lesson. I was like, damn, man. Like, and I don't know. I just felt comfortable around him. I felt comfortable fucking up around him. You know what I mean? And then the confidence started coming in. The beating him, not beating him to a flow, but like actually having a solid answer. Because he would always tell me like, all right, what do you think? What do you like? What do you think? What do you think? What is this gonna sound like? And I would like, well, how about? And then I would just like, whatever. And he's like, all right, okay, sounds good to me. And then he would like, okay, cool. Because we like, at the beginning, we would like, I would write something and then he would kind of like put his input and then we would like co-write, but he would like teach me. Like, you see what, you heard that? You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, cool. So it went from that to like, I started steering all by myself type shit. And it was really cool, man. I think that was definitely uh, um, a very pivotal moment in this musical journey that I'm on. I learned a lot in a very short amount of time because that came to a screeching halt. And yeah, man, we recorded some songs or whatever, and there was some plans to do, some other shit, maybe like book some shows and stuff, but I wasn't ready. And next thing you know, he went back home, and I was like, damn, now what? You know what I mean? And that was it. You know, it just ended like that. And I remember talking to my big brother, and he told me, he's like, "Hey, man, you know, things happen for a reason. You know, you tried your best. You know." And my big brother, he I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on here, but you know, back when he was like a teenager, he tried making music too. You know what I mean? He had like a group of friends too and shit. But like, is if I struggled to find a fucking studio here and shit, he would say like it was even tougher for them back then. You know what I mean? So he was just like, "Hey man, you did what you could. You know, you got better. I could hear it." And I'm like, "No, I know I'm better. You know what I mean? But I'm not where I think I could be." And he's like, "But hey man, the experience was good and blah blah blah, this and that." And he said, "At least you have these songs now, these current songs that you did, that you can show your kids when they grow up. So you could show them, like, because he would say like, I don't have anything that I could show my kids because we never actually did anything. It was always like, freestyling at parties and shit like that they would do, but nothing was ever recorded." And he said, "So at least you're gonna have these to show your kids." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, that's true, that's true." Until he said that, because when he said that, like, I don't know, I guess it was the rapper in me. I don't know what it was, but deep down, I was like, "Nah, this can't be it. This can't be it. This isn't my best. I want to be able to show them my best." And it just stayed like that. It just stayed like that, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, all right, cool. Pues qué hago?" You know what I mean? So boom, that that dream is paused yet again. And then fast forward to now. Um, when the fuck did this happen? Shit, I'm trying to think. I would say about, if that was about 2012, 2013, I would have to say maybe about 25, no, wait. 2014, 2015. 2015, I think. 2015. So then he now it's 2015. Of course, now I'm trying to, like, I keep on applying for jobs and shit, trying to get, provide a better life for everybody. You know what I mean? Hold on, I gotta drink again. Damn, an hour and 42 minutes. I should charge you motherfuckers, huh? I'm just playing. um, so now I'm trying to look for a better job or whatever. I applied for the Border Patrol. Now, applying for the Border Patrol is something recurring also in my life. And at that point, this was like the third time of me applying, which is a whole story within itself that I'm not about to go into. But, long story short, I applied. They said no, and they said never. You know what I mean? And it took a long, long time to get that answer. You know what I mean? And at that point, I had told my brother, my big brother, I was like, "Look, man, I just want to be able to say I tried. As much as I do want to get in, I want to be able to say, you know what? I tried my best, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out." Finally, when I got that answer, I was okay with it. You know what I mean? Because I was like, damn, I was bummed the fuck out. Now, let me take that shit back. I was bummed the fuck out, but I was also relieved that I got an answer. So I got the news, and I was basically putting all my chips in, all hope. Because, the money wasn't there to put all in. But like all this hope, you know what I mean? Me and my wife were even talking about maybe moving. How the fuck is that gonna work? Everything, it was gonna be a life changing thing. Um, yeah. And so I got the news, basically nothing. Boom. And I was like, sí, me agüité, güey. Me agüité culero. Can you guys fucking hear me? Oh, hell no. Please tell me you could hear me. The fuck? Oh, man, I guess I'll check later. Man, I hope you guys can hear me. Um, the fuck? So, um, man, no, that shit threw me off. No, it didn't. Okay. So they said no, and trying to recover. You know what I mean? Because that shit did it kicked me in the nuts a few times, and in between that time, right? So they said no or whatever, and then I remember. Let me see. Fuck, I don't think this is in time with it though. Might have been. It had to have been. Okay, so they said no, so I'm trying to deal with it, right? So then during this time, something happened. I don't remember what happened, but my wife told Haley, she said she had brought up how I would do music. I forgot what, like, oh yeah, like your dad or something like your dad. And she turned around, she looked at me, she's all, you used to do music, Dad? And I was like, yeah. And she said, what? Like you used to rap? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, no, I don't believe you. And I looked at my wife like, whoa. And she's like, Haley, he did. He has songs and everything. And she's like, what? And like my daughter got all shy. And I was like, yeah, for real. And she's like, no, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And she was, damn man, I don't remember how old she was. She was probably like 4. Yeah, like 4 or 5. And then I was like, yeah, I used to do music. And then she's like, no. And mind you, really quick sidebar. So for during this whole time, whenever I would create, I would always treat it like, like what's his name, Schmiegel, like my precious, look away, look away. Like every time I would like write or record, because I remember like I bought like this crappy mic and I would connect it to my laptop and I would try to like record myself in my room. I would like, don't look at me, don't look at me, I'm trying to do this. You know what I mean? So, all right, that's all I wanted to mention because it's gonna come back later. So I would so that night, right? I was like, she's like, no, Dad, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I was like, okay, all right, well, you don't have to believe me, but it exists. And she's like, no, no, no. So I remember she got in the shower, right, my daughter, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show her some of my shit. And I bust out the laptop and I start playing the music or whatever. She comes out and I looked at her and she looks at me and she's like, what's that? And I told her, that's me. And she's like, no way. And she got this big old smile on her face. And she's like, that's you? Wow. And she was just amazed and shit, right? And I was like, huh. So then that planted the seed for me to start doing my yearly or my bi-yearly or tri-yearly, if that's even a fucking term, of like, where's technology at now? YouTube, excuse me, you know what I mean? So I started looking into shit and it's like, oh shit, now you could buy the equipment. Oh shit, now you could, oh shit, and it's not that bad. Amazon, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, well, okay, how much is this? How much is this? How much? Just to get started, you know what I mean? I was like, oh shit, okay, all right. Wow, things have changed, you know what I mean? Um, so some time passes, right? And during this time, I'm still trying to deal with the rejection. Because I was like, what the fuck am I going to do now? You know what I mean? I've always told my wife, like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but this isn't going to be life forever. But so I'm like, where do I look? What rock do I have to turn over to be like, there's the blessing. You know what I mean? So I'm bummed out. I'm waking up and I'm going to sleep and I'm bummed out. One day at work, I call my brother, my big brother, because I felt. Okay, so I've been depressed before, and I never really caught it until I was already in it. But this time around, I felt myself sliding into it. You know what I mean? Like it felt like I was slowly sinking into like a black hole, but there was still time. But I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I'm scared because I could see where this is going and I don't like it. You know what I mean? By this time, I think Idris was born already. I think, yeah. He was already born, and I'm like, I have kids, my wife. Like, I can't let them see me the way I'm picturing I'm gonna be feeling. You know what I mean? So I was like, fuck, man, what do I do? What do I do? And I call my big brother, and I'm like, hey, I'm feeling like this. I don't know what to do. The only ray of hope that I could see that can like shake this off for a while or for a little bit or for the moment, whatever, is if I make music. And he was like, really? And I was like, yes, but I don't have anywhere to record. I've been doing kind of like some research and stuff, and I think I could buy like bare bones stuff. I think I could do this on my own. And he's like, go for it. Do it. Oh, because I told him just one song. That's what it was. I was like, just one song. I just need to make one song just to prove myself that I could still do it. And I'm curious to see where I'm at also. And just to like distract myself. And he's like, do it. And the burden was lifted. You know what I mean? I felt myself, you know, I felt myself like digging out of that sinking, like that quicksand into that black hole. And all my focus turned into the music thing, you know, to get everything going. And I'm talking about equipment, like bare bones equipment, dude. Like fucking interfaces, like shit, I don't remember, like $30 and shit. You know, the mic was like 20, like, you know, like super bare bone shit setup. Um, but it just gave me a purpose. Like, okay, now I gotta look into this. Now I gotta look into that. Blah 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 blah. Blah. Now looking back on it, and I've told him, I told my big brother this, you know, before. I was looking for permission. You know what I mean? Because in my head, this is a dumb little idea, you know? This is a dumb little fantasy that I have in my head, and it's like, oh, get real, you know? And I guess subconsciously I knew that if I were to turn to him, he would okay it. I don't know. But when he okayed it, it was like me asking for permission to do something that I didn't have to ask him for permission. You know what I mean? But it's that psychological part that you can't explain it. It doesn't make sense, but that's what happened. And he just okayed it, and then next thing you know, I dusted my pen off and I did one song, sent it to him. Then I did another song, sent it to him. Then I did another one. Then I did another one. Then I did another one. And that is what turned into the therapy album. That is the reason why it's called the therapy album, because that was my therapy to recover from such a low point that I was going to. You know what I mean? I was in there, kind of, but I wasn't like, I didn't fall into it. You know what I mean? That album and the creative process of it helped me so much, man. I'm so grateful for that album. I hold that near and dear to you know, to my heart, because without that album, I don't know where I would be. You know, both, I guess, physically and mentally. And also, I started treating the process differently. I started having my family involved. I started, you know, showing them, asking them for constructive criticism. What do you think about this? What do you think? What do you think of this? And then they would have input in it. You know what I mean? I know I said it before, but like my go-to people, you know, the only people that I look for okaying shit is my wife, my daughter, and my big brother. As long as they okay it, or as long as it's like a majority rules, because not everybody agrees on everything, but as long as they okay it, then I'm fine. I'm fine with it. And yeah, man, that's why that album is called the Therapy album. And I'm super proud of it. I'm super proud of it. I could actually hear it, over, a few times and not cringe at it. And yeah, so that was the beginning of the beginning, like the third time around, fourth, I don't know, fifth, I don't remember. So and just to hear people tell me like, nah, like where you're at now, I could hear the growth. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn, man, you don't like, not that you don't understand, but like the Therapy album was a big milestone personally for me. You know what I mean? Because I achieved something where I was like just one, and now it's like an actual thing. So now I understand what it is I have to do. You know what I mean? I'm not perfect, of course, and I'm not saying I have it down, but you know, that's why I jump on things right away. When as soon as we did, as soon as I met Accurate, which is another chapter, I've already talked about this. I kind of knew what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like, do it, just do it, fuck it, just do it. And then now our relationship has just developed into this wonderful thing where it's just like we got each other's backs. You know what I mean? Like, and it's cool. It's cool because I don't feel like I'm alone in this shit now. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm looking forward to the Energy Fest, because now I know what I want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I know I gotta practice. I'm obsessed. You know what I mean? Because I really want this shit, and I want to show um, my kids and my nephews and anybody else that's watching that it's possible. It doesn't matter. As long as you focus on something, then you can fucking get it done. And use myself as an example, not tell so much as like to show. You know what I mean? And that's why I wanted to share this this long ass story that I had to break into two parts, because it's not always black and white. Sometimes you gotta use that whole fucking crayon box to understand how much the journey means and how important it is, really. You know what I mean? You gotta go through this, because once you go through that, then you're going to go through this. But that experience from before is going to help you get to this part. And the thing is that we don't know what we're going to go through, right? But we can only accept the challenge and just keep it going from there. But it's so frustrating because us human beings want to know everything. We want to know the ending of the movie. Ya sé lo que va a pasar. Just shut up, sit down, and watch it. Even if you already know. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, we're not like that. We want to be able to foretell everything. And it's nerve-wracking. It's scary to just leave it all up in the sky and be like, whoa, I'm just going to dedicate myself to this, and it has to happen, and it will happen. There's no for sure thing. But if you stick to it, eventually it's going to happen. And once you prove it to yourself time and time and time again, then you got something there. You know what I mean? Nothing's for certain. Nothing's for certain. Because you could focus as much as you want, and then you're going to end up failing, but just learn from that failure as long as you learn. You know what I mean? And that's what this whole process has been. That's why like music is such a big part of my life, because it's helped me so much, man. I owe a lot to it. You know what I mean? And that's one of the reasons why I'm so dedicated to it, because besides me liking to like create and do it and having fun and like, oh man, just it's awesome. You know what I mean? I feel like I have to do my due diligence and pay it back. You know what I mean? Like and pay it back in like quality ways. You know what I mean? Like pay it back and make sure I give you some like quality shit. Now, I'm not gonna be just fucking around. Like whatever comes out of my ass, that's what I'm gonna do. Like no, I take this shit serious, but I'm also having fun at it. You know what I mean? Because I really, really fucking care, and hopefully you could take something away from this, man, and hopefully that pushes you to start that new career, to start that new passion project, to learn how to ride that fucking bike. Maybe you're fucking 30 something, 40 something, 50 something, and you never learn how to ride a bike. Somehow my dumbass pushed you to learn how to ride a bike. You know what the fuck I mean, man. We're just so fucking stubborn, man, and it's so frustrating to see people with potential just like, nah, man, you fucking got this shit. So I'm just using myself as an example. I'm not perfect. I just want to be able to show, like, if I can do it, you can do it. Period. You know how this shit goes. What I want to thank you guys for listening too, because if you listen this far, man, you are the shit, and I owe you a high five. Nah, man, thank you for real. Thank you for listening, and you know how this shit goes, man. I'll be dropping this shit whenever the fuck I want to. All right, later.